The National Desk, America's News, now.
Whatever the wind was doing, it wasn't just coming from one direction, but there was actually a little twist to it.
More possible twisters to come. Who's on watch for more tornadoes?
Mr. President, if you do not change this policy, you will have destroyed the last best chance to deliver lasting stability in the Mideast.
The decision to halt military weapons to Israel causing backlash on Capitol Hill, why some lawmakers fear it undermines the country's mission to defeat Hamas. And there's been a sharp rise in guns being stolen from cars. How much the risk has gone up over the past 10 years. This is the National Desk. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for being here. Right now, severe weather continues to batter parts of the South as the region cleans up widespread damage from tornadoes, flooding, and hail. A resident of Barnardsville, North Carolina, describes what he witnessed during a hailstorm.
This is the largest hailstorm I've seen in all my life. I mean, you had hail that was as big as your hand. I mean, softball, almost, well, I'd say tennis ball, baseball size.
More giant hail is likely tonight in parts of Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Showers and thunderstorms with possible flash flooding are forecast across the southeast and southern plains. Nearly 9 million people are under tornado watches, and at least one has already touched down today in Georgia. Heavy storms caused airport delays today in places like Atlanta and Charlotte. Storms also forecast for tomorrow on the East Coast from the mid-Atlantic down to Florida. Part of the body cam video from the fatal shooting of an airman by Florida sheriff's deputies has been released after the family asked for it to be. Roger Fortson was shot in his home when deputies were responding to a disturbance call. A warning that this video may be disturbing to you. The sheriff's office countered claims from Fortson's family that the deputies went into the wrong apartment. The family's lawyer said Fortson got out a gun when he couldn't see who was at the door. The sheriff's office said the deputy was acting in self-defense. Dispatch calls reveal how many times deputies believe Fortson was shot.
Multiple gunshot wounds to the chest. Blackmail.
Blackmail, multiple gunshot wounds to the chest.
Gunshot wounds in the chest, one exit wound. Six gunshot wounds.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating. And a 4-year-old girl is dead and 4 others in critical condition after 2 men shot up their San Antonio home on Tuesday evening. Investigators' video shows the suspects pulling up in a car, running up to the house and shooting. The county sheriff says they fired around 20 to 25 shots using long rifles. Deputies say one of the victims may have been texting with one of the gunmen beforehand. Adult film star Stormy Daniels completed her testimony today in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. Trump's attorneys pressed her on why she accepted $130,000 to keep quiet about an alleged sexual encounter between her and Donald Trump instead of going public at the time. His team also tried to paint her as a liar and extortionist. Daniels says she did it to protect her family. Trump's team also filed another appeal regarding the gag order he's under.
We've just filed a major motion in the appellate division concerning the absolutely unconstitutional gag order, where I'm essentially not allowed to talk to you about anything meaningful that's going on in the case.
Judge Merchant denied that request. He has threatened Trump with jail time if he continues to violate the gag order. He's done so, by the way, already 10 times, racking up $1,000 in terms of a fine for each one. Trump said he'd be willing to go to jail, arguing his right to free speech is being violated. Hunter Biden's appeal to throw out the gun charges in Delaware against him was denied by the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. The ruling was made on procedural grounds and now allows for the trial to begin as scheduled on June 3rd. Hunter will be in court on May 24th for a pretrial hearing. Tonight, we are taking a closer look at the claim there's been outside involvement in some of those campus protests that have erupted over the past few weeks. There's new evidence that while the protests started organically, they've been able to grow and spread rapidly due to outside funding and support including from foreign entities. Here's the National Desk's Christine Frizzell.
The vast majority of those taking part in protests on college campuses have voiced frustration with U.S. policy supporting Israel and its war in Gaza.
I don't want my money or tuition money to go towards war and killing people.
But there's new evidence their ire has been turned into fire, fueled by groups that help them organize and grow. New York City police revealed they have evidence of outside agitators at Columbia's protest with no connection to the university.
These external actors are obviously not students. It is our belief they are now actively co-opting what should be a peaceful gathering.
Politico reporting on outside groups supporting the protests funded by wealthy donors like George Soros. But others say there is another, more concerning trend: the active involvement of groups who get their funding from the Chinese Communist Party.
Lie. Israel is not a racist state.
Code Pink is one example. The New York Times reporting the American billionaire Roy Singham has spent years and millions of dollars promoting the Chinese Communist Party and is married to Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans.
Part of China's strategy towards the United States overall is to sort of divide the country, to encourage conflict and division, because they believe that it saps the United States of its energy to be able to operate internationally.
Another group funded by Singham is the People's Forum, with members actively involved in the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which has posted photos from campus protests all around the country. Schweitzer says the same group helped radicalize the racial justice protests of 2020, which started when George Floyd was murdered by a police officer.
A lot of people were out expressing their opinions about wanting perhaps some police reform or wanting some changes. These organizations took it to the extreme. All police officers are racist. We need to abolish the police.
There have already been calls for the federal government to investigate the role of external factors in these campus protests, with some lawmakers here on Capitol Hill already signaling they'd be open to it. Amira.
All right. Christine Frizzell, thank you for that reporting. As always, we appreciate it. Live from D.C. And patient care is being disrupted following a cyber attack on the Ascension Healthcare Network. 140 hospitals, 40 senior living facilities across 19 states are at risk. Ascension gave an update today after noticing the hack yesterday that ambulances in Florida and Kansas were told to take patients to alternative hospitals. Patients' electronic records are also being compromised, so doctors and medical staffs are relying on paper records. A February cyber attack on United Health Group caused billions of dollars of damages and threatened to put some providers out of business. A Georgia middle school worker is out of a job and facing charges after a student drank vodka from a water bottle she brought to school. The student says he believed he was drinking Mountain Dew, but reported the vodka when he found out otherwise. 39-year-old Alexandra Lambert admitted to bringing the water bottle full of vodka to school. She was tested to be 3 times over the legal blood alcohol limit. The school district confirmed she is no longer employed at the school. The state of Alabama has set the next execution by nitrogen hypoxia unless he gets a stay. Death row inmate Alan Eugene Miller, who was convicted of killing 3 men in 1999, will be executed on September 26th. Alabama inmate Kenneth Smith was the first to die in the United States by hypoxia back in January after many delays from legal battles over the execution method. Alan Eugene Miller was set to be executed by lethal injection in 2022, but the attempt was stopped when they couldn't access his veins. Harvey Weinstein will remain behind bars in New York as he awaits a retrial in his 2020 rape case that was thrown out last month. California prosecutors want him brought back to serve his 16-year sentence for a separate rape conviction. The disgraced movie mogul denied his consent for extradition today. Weinstein's legal team argues he should be in New York right now so he can prepare for his retrial and get the medical care he needs. Coming up, why some economists are concerned about the latest report on American jobs. Then many of you could have a chance to see the Northern Lights this weekend. When and where this rare display is forecast to appear. Plus, a city in North Carolina is working on a plan for reparations, how it would work, and how much money would be given out. We'll be right back. Ceasefire hostage talks in Gaza put on pause. U.S. officials telling CNN delegations for Hamas and for Israel have left Cairo without a truce deal. This as Israeli defense forces ramp up operations in the southern city of Rafah. Tonight, the World Food Program says no aid has entered Gaza through its southern crossing for 2 days now. The U.S. will begin delivering aid through its military pier in the coming days, but it couldn't come soon enough for the enclave, now on the brink of full-blown famine. Israel says its operations are making headway to root out Hamas operatives. But Gazans say without aid and with bombing underway, they're on the precipice of even wider devastation. The World Health Organization warns hospitals in the south could run out of fuel by the end of this week. And here's how one medic who's been in and out of Gaza had to say about what she's hearing from colleagues on the ground.
They move us around like animals. It's like a video game. This literally feels like a video game. And I think the most particularly distressing thing has been seeing little toddlers with massive head wounds.
She went on to say they're seeing more malnourished children seeking treatment, kids who are at the age of 10 and 12 who have the height of kids who are the height and weight of kids who are 4 and 5 years old. Concerned about more civilian casualties and restricted aid tonight, President Biden threatening to withhold some weapons from Israel if they fully invade Rafah.
U.S. provided military equipment needs to be used in compliance with international law.
It's a decision being praised by some and rebuked by others. National correspondent Matt Gelka with a closer look at the pushback.
Worried about the impact a full-scale assault on Rafah could mean for 1 million Palestinians sheltering there, the president is drawing his hardest line yet when it comes to supporting Israel.
We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently. But it's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used.
The U.S. delayed sending 3,500 bombs that the president acknowledged played a part in killing Gaza civilians. The administration continues to push for a ceasefire deal and not an all-out invasion of the city. Republicans slam the threat.
What the president is doing here is capitulating because of electoral politics, because he's concerned about the vote in Michigan and Minnesota.
It's totally pro-Hamas. I mean, he may as well just say that we're going to abandon Israel and they're no longer our ally.
While the decision is splitting progressive and pro-Israel Democrats.
It's a good step forward. I think we've got to do even more.
When they see America pulling back, even in the slightest,
right? That is a message to Hamas of we don't have to agree to a ceasefire.
Israeli forces began military operations outside the city earlier this week. Israeli officials appeared angered on social media following the warning. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reposted this video Thursday.
If Israel is forced to stand alone, Israel will stand alone.
The former president called the warning a disgrace on his way into court.
If any Jewish person voted for Joe Biden, they should be ashamed of themselves. He's totally abandoned Israel.
New York Democratic Congressman Richie Torres went a step further on social media, saying Biden's warning was mixed messaging and made a mockery of our credibility as an ally. It highlights how complicated the Israel war is for the president's base. For the National Desk in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Weekly jobless claims in the United States have reached their highest level since 2023, suggesting the strong labor market could be changing. Today, the Labor Department said roughly 231,000 people filed for unemployment benefits last week. That was up by 22,000. One economist called the report worrisome, but acknowledged it could be an outlier. And guns are being stolen from cars 3 times as often as they were 10 years ago. That's according to a new analysis by the group Everytown. There were almost 112,000 reports of stolen guns in the United States in 2022, the most recent year that there's data for. Just over half of those were from cars, up from about a quarter in 2013. The increase highlights the need to safely secure firearms. 2 days after Miss USA resigned from her post, the current Miss Teen USA has also relinquished her title. In a social media post, Sofia Srivastava said her personal values no longer fully align with the organization. Srivastava's resignation comes directly after Miss USA Noelia Voigt stepped down, citing mental health, casting a spotlight on the pageant organization itself. The organization's social media director also recently resigned, citing workplace bullying and toxicity. The pageant told USA Today it was troubled to hear the, quote, false accusations made by a former employee, but it wished its former title holders very well. Officials say they have major safety concerns about Ford's remedy for a recent SUV recall. Certain Bronco Sport and Escape SUVs have fuel injectors that can crack, causing gas to leak near hot engine parts, which can lead to fires. Ford's solution is to install a tube to redirect the gas along with a software update. But NHTSA is now asking the company to show that this actually works by June 21st. A new bill introduced today aims to limit heavy metals in baby food. It would require that the FDA set maximum allowable amounts for all infant food, not just rice cereal and juice. High levels of the toxic metals in baby food have been documented in recent years. The bill would also set testing standards and give the FDA more power to enforce them. Colon cancer rates are going up, particularly in people who are too young for regular screenings. Research out of the University of Missouri, Kansas City looked at the disease in people from 10 to 44 years old. The CDC recommends getting the screening once you turn 45. While the study found overall cases numbers are still low, rates are on the rise in all age groups. No reasons for the new trend were given. And a condition known as SAD, that doesn't stand for seasonal affective disorder that many of us have heard of. This is separation anxiety disorder, one of the most common types of anxiety disorders found in children. Medical reporter Barbara Morse has tips from an expert.
Whether it's dropping your kid off to school or leaving them with a babysitter for a much-needed date night out, many of you know the drill.
What it is that children really have a very difficult time leaving their parents. They cry, they get stomach aches.
Mary Wallace has been a child and family therapist for more than 30 years. First things first.
Always have conversations with the children. Explain why you go to work every day. Why is there a separation? Just to prepare the child. I know it's hard for you to say goodbye, but I will be back exactly after lunch, so the child knows when you're coming back. You will always return.
If you're a parent who travels a lot,
But you need to try to work it out so that you put a date on a calendar. I'm going to be here on Monday, and then we're going to plan a special date. I'm going to call you every day.
and remember, one-on-one time is so important.
That's where the security gets strengthened.
And really work hard on developing what Mary calls a secure bond.
Studies that they've done on attachment, they have found that a secure attachment between the parent and the child helps the child to go off on her own. The child internalizes all the caring and the security and feels safe when she's alone.
Conversely, if your child is just too attached, very clingy, gets headaches, belly aches, and has trouble focusing when you leave them, it's time to reach out for professional help. It is available. I'm medical reporter Barbara Morse.
Barbara, thank you. The Northern Lights could be coming south tomorrow and on Saturday night. As far south as North Carolina and even Arizona could get a light show due to a massive geomagnetic storm unleashed by the sun. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration forecasts this event to be a 4 out of 5 as multiple solar emissions may combine together to enhance the magnitude of the storm. Starting at around 11 p.m. Friday and then again on Saturday, if you have clear cloud cover, you may just get a glimpse of the show. Coming up, what experts say is likely the reason behind a dramatic increase in reports of sexual assault on planes. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America.
Sexual assault on board airplanes is a federal crime, and when it happens on flights to Seattle, the cases end up here at the office of U.S. Attorney Tessa Gorman.
We see a staggering increase in reporting.
Federal prosecutors have filed 9 cases of abusive sexual contact since last summer, when the FBI warned about an alarming increase in reports.
What we want to say to all victims is you're not to blame. You did nothing wrong. We believe you and we support you.
Gorman says she believes part of the increase is due to victims feeling empowered to report being touched without consent.
I was on an airline recently where the announcement included, we want to be here for your safety, including safety from harm from others on this flight.
We talked with Dr. Dwight Mullen, who chairs the Reparations Commission. He said funds for a pilot cash program would come from the Reparations Fund of more than $4 million, which has pooled together approved funds from city and county.
Are you getting $1,000 or?
I have no idea. I don't know the amount, but it will be enough to affect the overall poverty level that individuals and families are experiencing.
Evanston, Illinois did a historic reparations program that gave $25,000 housing vouchers for Black citizens, then adding an equivalent cash option. Here in Asheville, however, nothing like that has been presented, but in coming weeks, we expect to hear more proposals.
I felt like pretty lucky.
Lucky because Sebastian Marquez was able to lock in a full prom experience ticket out of only 600 dinner tickets sold at Clovis East High School. That wasn't the case for others, like Sebastian's friend.
She decided last minute to go to the prom.
But she will still be able to go to prom with her dance and dessert option ticket. She just won't be able to enter for the dinner portion of the night, but Marquez says either way, most people just eat somewhere else. Clovis Unified provided the following statement. The short answer about Clovis East's prom is that after making the reservation for this year's prom, the venue changed its max capacity for dinner, limiting it to 600.
A concert might sound like an odd reason for visiting a foreign country, but not for Swifties, American fans traveling across a whole ocean and more than 3,000 miles to see Taylor Swift as she kicks off the European leg of her Eras tour in Paris. Swifties quickly figured out that ticket prices were far cheaper in Europe than in the United States due to stricter controls on resales over there. The Paris arena Swift is appearing in said Americans bought 20% of the tickets for her sold-out shows, 4 of sold-out shows she has. Stockholm, the tour's next stop, expects about 10,000 concert-goers from the United States. And Prime streaming users, listen up. Amazon is primed to redefine your ability to pause programming. Amazon revealing it will now show you interactive ads pushing different products when you press pause instead of the standard silence you get now. It's expected to give Prime a big boost in revenue, especially because it's going to cost $3 a month extra if you want to do away with those commercials altogether. That does it for this edition of the National Desk. Thanks so much for joining.